Yeah, Nazis are pretty f***ing gay.
Yeah.
Lady in the Trans podcast. Where we believe in science. We don't believe in God. Only science. Science will solve all the problems. That's the trans agenda.
Trans people in science gonna save the day.
Solve the problems with us. With science. Science, bitch.
Science and my trans agenda, I'm returning trans.
Hello and welcome to Lady in the Trans.
Lady in the Trans podcast. I am Lady.
I am trans. Today we're talking about trans people in sports.
Yes, we are.
And I have to start by saying how upset that I am that I have to talk about this.
Oh, I know you are.
As a person who hates sports, couldn't care less about sports, didn't enjoy playing sports, the fact that everyone I talk to about trans issues brings up sports makes me so angry because I'm so bored. I did like 6 hours of research on this subject today and I fell asleep. I was so bored. I don't care about this stuff. I'm never going to compete in anything. I don't want to compete in anything. I'm livid.
Yep, and they use it as a talking point so people will hate you. And as somebody who was forced to play sports, I'm not exactly stoked about this either. I don't watch sports anymore. I enjoyed playing them, but I don't care to watch them. You know what I mean?
Smash each other.
Sports are kind of gay when you think about it, for at least the men's. I mean, you know what?
That's
The women's sports also. It's pretty gay.
But yeah, so anyway, here I am talking about my favorite subject, and I'm just going to throw some stats at you.
Throw some
I'm just
stats
going to
at
throw
me.
some facts. We'll start with the fact that the amount of trans kids in the world and trans athletes in general has been greatly over-exaggerated.
Yes.
Less than 0.5% of kids are actually trans in this country.
Yep.
It's 300,000 kids out of 73.5 million kids.
Yes.
Which is 0.4%.
Yes.
Less than 0.5%. So this is not even the issue that everyone's making it seem like. But that being said, there are 0 trans people who have ever placed in the Olympics.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
They're making this such a... trans people are
They're
dominating sports.
dominating. Trans women are dominating. Why do we have 0 medals, bitch?
Yeah, and there's so few of them. And we don't even have a lot of accurate information on it because they don't want us to study it.
No. And the studies that have been done, I'm going to go into the flaws.
yeah.
Because there's some flaws in these studies.
Yeah, and it's by design. It's by design.
Absolutely by design. The main problem is that the studies are being commissioned by the Olympic Committee, right? And so they're hiring people and they're telling them, please go find evidence that trans women are better than cis women. And so they're conducting the studies in such a way to guarantee that they will get those results. For example, they're comparing trans women athletes to non-athlete cis women.
Which is just insane when you think about it.
They're taking a trans athlete and comparing, as the study refers to them, sedentary cis women.
So they do not train or even work out.
They don't even exercise. These are women who sit on the couch all day. Maybe they have a job where they sit at a desk. These are not athletes. So of course the trans women are going to do better. They've been training.
Yep.
And the other problem, there are only 12 studies that have been done on this topic. Only 12. And because there are so few trans athletes in the world, 8 of those 12 studies, 2/3 of the studies, are conducted on a sample size of less than 20 people.
Which doesn't tell you anything.
No, you can't gather data about the broad picture of anything from 20 data points.
And it's just the idea of them taking a pro athlete and trying to compare it with just your average cis woman. That's like taking an NBA male basketball player and comparing his abilities to like one of my male cousins. And those like
and knowing what they look
they're
like.
not, yeah, you've seen them. Yeah, you've seen what they look like.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that. But they're doing it with trans women and cis women.
Because no one's looking into these studies. No one's looking into the details
I mean,
of them.
some people are looking at them. That's where I found some of my data is from a study of the studies,
Okay.
which is what I'm going to link in the down there.
Yeah. But people lack critical thinking skills.
They
So
do.
you know what
They
I
do.
mean?
And nobody read the study about the studies.
No, but yeah, and this is the thing, nobody.
Except for me today
nobody's
for 6 hours.
But this is the thing, no one's looking up the studies. They are looking up news articles where they take the small
And
examples
they're
where trans women.
cherry-picking the data specifically to support whatever claim they're trying to
Yes.
make.
Yeah. And then some of these trans female athletes that win, when it hits the news, sometimes those same athletes have competed in other events and not won against cis women. And that's not reported on. It's just once they win, they go, trans women, it's a man beating up. And it's like,
She's dominating in her field.
yeah, and it's
Like, but that's the goal.
and nobody looks
She's not
any
winning
further.
most of the time.
Yeah.
And another issue with these studies, they're not controlling for body mass or height. They're just comparing gender. They're not factoring in any actual natural physical differences that might make you better at something.
Yeah, because this is the thing about sports. If you are good at sports, it's partially skill and training. It's also partially your natural genetic makeup.
Yeah.
Like I'm a cis female, and I'm not in shape anymore, but like I played sports all through my childhood and I worked out at the gym pretty consistently up until about COVID.
Which means you've held on to some of that old athletic
Yes,
abilities.
I have. And if you paired me with like a female athlete that's significantly smaller than me, I would still be able to overpower her in a lot of ways. There would be things I'm physically just better at because of not only my natural genetics, because the women in my family are usually a little bit taller, a little bit stronger, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
and the studies, they're not controlling for that at all. They're not even factoring it into the data.
yeah.
And the studies are counting, some of the studies are counting trans women as biological males. So when they factor the data into the average, they include the trans women with the cis men. Mm-hmm. But there's actually another study that has been done that has proven that when you just compare trans women to cis men, trans women do worse than cis men on all metrics.
Yeah, because they are not men.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah. Because there's actual biological differences in trans people compared to cis people.
And
There's
we're-
actual biological differences in our brains, in our bodies. If you
Yes.
just actually take us, even if they're training at professional levels, because these are studies done exclusively on professional athletes. The trans women are doing worse than the cis men in everything. And this is before T suppression.
This is before HRT too, because
This is before HRT.
estrogen changes your body so much people don't understand.
Yeah.
You shrink, your hands and feet shrink.
Yeah.
Your
I've
fat
gotten
redistributes.
shorter, my skin changed texture, so my
You
grip
lose-
strength isn't as good.
It's insane.
Your aerobic capacity goes down. Your muscle strength goes down. But even before HRT, even before that, trans women do worse than cis men across the board. But in the study, they're incorporating the trans women's data when they're trying to compare it to cis women. They're incorporating it in with the cis men. They're saying, well, biological males on average are doing better than biological females. And it's like, well, that's because you're comparing men to women. And sure,
Yeah.
maybe the trans women are bringing the men's average down a little, but you're still comparing men to women.
Oh, because it brings the average down for the men's performance. Yeah.
And the trans women's scores aren't even listed. They just literally reported the average.
And you never hear them talk. You never hear them talk about, trans women that aren't excelling in sports, because that's also a thing that happens too. The news just isn't reporting on it.
Yeah.
Are we going to touch on the Republicans later putting money towards the propaganda?
We sure are.
Okay. Yeah.
But until then, and the other thing that has been studied is that after taking HRT, trans women actually have a disadvantage in sports compared to cis women. They're intentionally not doing studies that compare cis women and trans women just directly, because the results would be that the trans women are worse at just about everything, if they have been following the rules and taking HRT and doing all the things that they're supposed to do. Because with our increased frame, but reduced muscle capacity and reduced aerobic capacity, that means every single part of our body has to work harder to get the same thing done. Which it's just crazy.
Yeah, and no one talks about that. There's also like trans women usually have less lower body strength compared to their cis counterparts because of developing and living their life as male for so long, and then once it reverses, there's certain things that don't completely fill in. So it's, like there's so many things.
Yeah, we're significantly worse than all the other athletes at anything involving endurance, because our bodies are just working that much
overtime.
harder to get us to do what we used to be able to do before the HRT.
Yeah, because your muscles and your cartilage and stuff definitely shrink, but like your bones don't really change that much. So your body is now a female body with the same bones. They're actually trying to, I guess there's like gender affirming surgeries where they can like make your shoulders less wide and like other things to like, which they're experimental. I don't suggest anybody go out and get them. They do exist. But I bet in the future, if medicine improves and advances more for trans people, we could even get to a point where they are on an even playing field for like in every way. And that won't be a disadvantage for them anymore. I don't suggest you go get those like bone shortening surgeries, though. I guess they're very, very new and there's complications that come with it. But I am just saying, like,
yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I'm going to not do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Who fucking cares?
No, thank you.
I got broad shoulders for a cis bitch. I don't give a shit. Who cares?
I got what I got.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
You got what yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway, where was I? Trans women also scored worse than cis women in lower body strength and lung capacity.
Yeah. You know what's funny? They love to say that your lung capacity is actually better. I've heard that on, what red pill?
It isn't. It's simply
It's
not.
just incorrect.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they love to talk about bone density. Trans women's bone density equal to cis women.
Yeah, because
Literally no
estrogen does
difference.
that to your
Yes.
bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything changes. I did want to list one other one of the issues with the existing studies on trans people that has been done. So far, every single study that has been done that talks about this, on specifically the effects of tea on athletes, also included athletes who were using performance-enhancing drugs.
Such as roids. Yeah.
So there's no way to control for whether it was the T levels or whether it was the steroids,
Yeah.
which are going to increase your T levels.
Yes.
But again, there is no prediction between T level and athletic performance. If you took every single person in the world who had the same T level, you would find just as much variance in their scores as among a group of athletes. A random assortment of people.
Yes. This is the other thing a lot of people don't understand about trans women. When you start taking estrogen, your body also stops producing as much testosterone on its own.
Oh, yeah.
So like
my body makes basically none.
I know you were
testosterone.
telling me in your charts that it, like after you started taking estrogen, your doctor was like, you don't even need T blockers because it's just not even producing
'Cause
it.
it was
Aren't they
immediate.
saying they need to put you on a little bit of it too because yours are so low? Because everyone needs a little bit.
Yes, no, my doctor was saying like your T levels are actually low. And you
Yeah.
know what's really weird about that? My T levels are actually higher than the required level for trans women to compete in sports. My T levels are 10 nanomoles per liter.
Okay.
In order to compete in sports, I would have to have that from 10 to 5. Normal cis female T range is between 15 and 70 for T.
And they're testing T levels on you and not cis women for you to do sports, huh?
Yes. And they're saying
means that
for trans women specifically, you have to maintain a consistent T level of less than 5 nanomoles per liter for 6 months leading up to the event.
And there are plenty of cis women with
Which
higher
is-
levels of T.
Which is actually bad for you. Like, you actually need both
You
hormones.
you have
and
to
my
have a little
doctor's
bit.
looking at my numbers and saying, "Oh, you have 10 nanomoles. We should probably get that up to 15." Like, 10 is, it's just on the edge of where we'd be
Mm-hmm.
worried about you. And the athletic, like those stipulations are saying trans women need to maintain a level. They're at this point they're saying like 3.7, which is insane.
Because
It's
like
actually insane.
women that go through menopause, their bodies stop producing as much testosterone. I forget what actress was talking about this, but there was an actress in an interview I watched, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm going through menopause, and I was feeling awful. I had no energy. I was really depressed, and it was her T levels were too low. So if your T levels get too low in general too, it can also like be bad for your psychological well-being, your energy levels, your ability to do things and be productive in everyday life. Like everybody needs some of that. So you would think that they would be checking they'd be checking cis women as well and going, but this is the thing, this is the thing about that too. The thing I hate about how we treat women's sports is like if you're a girl playing a sport, you cannot be too good. You're not allowed.
Right.
And so I'm going to bring up Brittany Griner real fast.
Great.
So Brittany Griner is a WNBA basketball player, and she's very good. Also, this woman is huge. This woman is huge. She is 6'8" with no shoes on. She can dunk. She's a large woman, and she is cis. She was born female. There's a lot of conspiracy theories on the internet of like badly photoshopped photos of her with like a beard and stuff. People trying to say that she was like born male. And I'm like, if she was a trans woman, she would be going out of her way to pass more based on societal standards for her own safety. This is just a very large cis woman. She also has a very low voice. I assume she produces significantly more testosterone than the average cis woman.
Probably.
If any trans woman tried to play her at any sport, she would probably annihilate them because she's so huge. And we don't have a problem with her competing because she was born female, assigned female at birth. That's fine. But we're going to, you know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. And she's so good that it's to a point where people transvestigate her and accuse her all the time of being trans. It's insane. It's insane.
I'm sure some of the $250 million that Republicans spent to attack trans athletes went towards some of that stuff.
Yes.
Almost guaranteed, whether it was just pushing it to more people on social media or whatever, the fake beard photos.
Well, nobody
or
cared
whatever.
about this a few years ago. No one gave a shit about the trans women in sports thing. I started hearing about around like COVID, like maybe even 2021. I started hearing a lot about that around that time. And it even sucked me into it for a little bit. About 6 months of it, I was like, yeah, I guess because I didn't know anything about the actual, I didn't do any research. People don't. And that's like, propaganda is easy to get sucked into because people don't have time to sit down and look at this stuff all day long. You know what I mean?
And if you just listen to AI, they could literally be making stuff up.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
And-
just pulling their facts from like one of the biased Republican sources.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Based on fake science and just not thinking about it because AI is not trained to think; it's trained to regurgitate.
Yeah. There's people, this is the other thing too. There are people that aren't doing any research on this and they're just saying stuff.
Yeah.
I want to bring up, I brought this up on my TikTok the other day, but Blair White, the right wing grifter, she's a trans woman and she does a lot of her channel is a lot of like finding people that don't pass all the way and just being really rude about it and like, oh, this is basically a man. It's like kind of her whole thing because she passes really well. Like she's had FFS, you know what I mean? Yeah. And there was a female power lifter who transitioned later in life, kept a lot of her muscle mass. And she wasn't competing with women at all. She wasn't. She's like, I'm too strong. There would not be a point in that. I compete with men sometimes. I don't really win, but like I've had my career. I'm older. I transitioned older because I can kind of end my career now. You know what I mean? But Blair White made a video saying she was competing with cis women and she was not. And that woman came out and was like, this is a lie. And then Blair White had to make an apology video because she didn't do her research. She probably
literally just
saw
made it up.
a video of this power lifter and was like, she's competing with women. And it's just like, people just say stuff
People
and they
just
don't
make things
People
up.
just make stuff up or they hear something.
I made a video on my TikTok where I literally made up a statistic.
Yeah.
And
And
I
people-
started playing it, and the first thing you did was you were like, wow, that doesn't surprise me. And then
Yeah.
the next thing I said in the video was, I literally just made that up.
Yeah, and just simply Googling a stat and just looking at it doesn't actually give you the information on it. And this is the thing. There are some trans women that might be significantly stronger than all women in general, for sure. But okay, this brings me to my point about how we shouldn't have gender separation in sports. We should base it off of your physical body and what
Yeah.
you're capable of.
Yeah,
It makes the most sense.
I think almost all sports should be separated by like weight class
Yeah, I think the
or
majority.
something similar to weight class.
Yeah. Unless it's combative sports, I think those should always be separated by gender because cis men are just hefty.
There are
But-
also like, I also found this in my research. Basically, before the 1800s, especially if you looked at indigenous cultures, there were like wrestling events, physical combat events where men competed against women.
That's right, you did tell me.
And there was never a problem. Like, it was totally acceptable. It literally wasn't banned until the 1900s when white people showed up and were like, how come you're doing that? We got to stop that.
Yeah.
If our people see that women are capable of that, women might rise up and overthrow the patriarchy, which is the point of all of this at the
This
end
is
of the
the
day.
point of everything. It's white people are on top and men are on top.
Yeah.
Specifically, white
The
cis
only
men.
reason any of you care about trans people in sports at all is because rich white men are paying people to make you care. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason.
And this goes back to brainwashing and how it works. The way you think don't become your own thoughts. That's why it's important we teach critical thinking in schools, but we don't do that. What Scandinavia? I think it was a Scandinavian country. What country in like somewhere in Northern Europe? They like teach critical thinking classes in their schools to like know how to spot propaganda and do research in a way where you can find factual
It's a
information.
lot of the European and Scandinavian countries
Yeah.
that are doing that.
And I think that's
Because they also see the writing on the wall. If Russia takes over Ukraine, where do they go next? The next country over, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, the first thing they do, they don't start by invading. They start by taking over your media and trying to control your minds and your thoughts.
yes.
That's how they're overthrowing America right now. They started by controlling the media. They've been doing it for the last 10 years. And look at us. We're more divided than we've ever been. We can't agree on anything. We're all fighting all
People
the time.
are way more hateful than they were 15
They
years
are.
ago.
Yeah, they're bringing back old slurs that had died a
Well, it's not
worthy
even
death.
It's not even about slurs. It's about
not
the way
about- yes.
it's about
But
the
that's a
violence
part of
against
it.
people. It's the violence against people that's different because people would make dumb
But
jokes all the time back
slurs
then.
lead to violence.
It does, yeah.
It's a web. It's interconnected. There's
Yeah,
no
when-
way to separate.
When the hatred hasn't died and completely been eradicated from society, you are correct. Those words end up turning into, because people that really hate people come out of the woodwork, start using them, and then it makes them angry because they're interacting with these people that they hate so much. And it's insane.
Yeah. You know what else is interesting? There have been zero studies done on people who transitioned as kids and their athletic performance.
You know what's funny? So I had there was a comment on my TikTok the other day and they were trying to they were like, "Oh, cuz I couldn't find a stat for the video, but they had an estimate of how many children that year had competed, trans kids had competed in sports." And I said, "It is estimated there are only 5 kids from 2023 that were competing in girls sports, trans
Is that
kids."
like at the collegiate level or like total? Because that feels low for total.
I forget exactly what it was, but I had one comment that was like, that stat can't be right. And I'm like, first of all, I didn't say it was a stat. I called it an estimate because it was. And second of all, I literally like Googled it for like a while. I could not find stats on it.
I mean, there's less than 10 professional trans athletes in the entire country. Less than
Yeah.
10, like, total.
Yeah. Well,
that
this
are-
person
that
in
are
the comments,
competing.
they're like, in Washington state alone, there were 4 of them, including this one. And there was one example of a trans kid from Washington state, of some sort of track thing, whatever. But I tried to find the other 3 kids. I could not find any information on it. So they might have just been fucking saying that.
Yeah.
They were probably just throwing a number out. But like, it's also
I would estimate that there's like maybe 5 trans kids per state that are like
yeah,
in a team sport,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And like what kind of advantage do you have in a team sport?
That's what I'm saying, because you want good player. You want all of your
You
players
just want
to be
the best
really
players.
good.
And like
And they try to say
trans
it's
girls
like,
aren't
oh,
gonna
the
be the best
safety.
ones.
They're not. And then on top of that, like, and
especially
this is
if they've had hormones.
yeah, especially if they've had hormones, but even
But
puberty
we refuse
blockers,
to study that because they know what the answer's going to be.
yeah, they do, and they
And
don't
they're
want people to find
looking
out.
for a different answer.
This is another point I want to make about this. The reason the people at the top of the food chain in our society don't want trans people to come out is because it challenges our entire system. Because trans people existing shows, first of all, men and women are a lot more alike than we want to believe. Also,
There's
it
so
would
much
force them to
overlap.
study women's health, specifically cis women's health. And if cis women got better health care, we would be a lot better and more productive in society because we would feel better. Essentially, when trans people are seen in society and existing and people come to accept them, it challenges the patriarchal society that we have entirely.
Absolutely.
Because you guys are rebelling against gender roles of like, I was assigned this gender at birth and my body started to develop that way, and I can come back and not be that.
Look, we're gonna have to do like a whole extra episode on the history of just women in sports, because a lot of the stuff that I was finding is showing that basically every time a woman beat the men at something, they segregated that sport. Because they just refused to allow a woman to beat them. In 1992, a woman won in a skeet shooting event in the Olympics, and they canceled women's participation for 8 years until they figured out how to separate the sport by gender.
Yeah, and they even separate chess, which doesn't have anything to do with your physical ability.
Yeah, because a trans girl just won one.
Yeah.
But like, that's because most of us are autistic, and autistic people are good at chess.
I mean, even before trans people being in sports, they have had chess separated by gender. It doesn't make any sense.
It does exist. I don't.
It's not
think
as much
that
of a thing
exists in most
anymore.
places.
It's not as much of a thing anymore, but it is still a thing. The best female chess player in the world, the only reason she is as good at chess as she is, she's done interviews saying, you know, me and all of my sisters played chess as children, and they tried to separate us by gender. And if you play with a smaller pool of people, you don't improve as good because you're playing against the same few people and you're not picking up on new patterns. I refused to do that, and I demanded that I play in the men's league so I could get better. And she's beaten Magnus Carlsen, I think is the guy's name. He's the top player in the world. She's beat him before in a tournament. Like, she is top notch, and it's because she demanded that she play in men's.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's not a physical thing even. That was just them being like,
no
women
way-
are not good enough to do this.
There's no way to argue a biological advantage.
There's not.
in chess.
Especially because men are
Simply no way-
stupid.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to disagree with you. But like,
So psychologically speaking. I'm going to chill on them, Sandry. That's my bad. But men are dumb.
another interesting thing kind of about what you're saying is if you want girls to play sports, so since these bans on trans athletes have been enacted, they've taken a look at all of the states and compared the states where there is a ban versus the states where there is no ban. And in the states where there is no ban on trans athletes, more cis girls participate in sports.
Really?
Yeah. Increased participation increases participation.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because they're seeing somebody who's much more marginalized than them being able to play and they feel like, shit, I want to play too?
I honestly think it comes down to like friendship. Like if you have a friend who is trans and she wants to be on the soccer team and she's not allowed to be on the soccer team, you're going to be like, well, then we won't be on the soccer team either. We'll just play soccer with you at the park.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like that would be my prediction. I don't actually know. Like there's no hard and fast evidence as to like why that's the case, but it is the case.
We should be studying all of this.
When you let trans girls play sports in school on team sports, more cis girls will play sports. It is fact at this point.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could argue that the type of place where trans girls would be banned from playing sports, like a very Republican place, is more likely to discourage women from playing sports in general. That I think is also a valid, possibly even a more valid explanation.
Wait, repeat that one more time for me.
If you are in a Republican state that is banning trans athletes from participating, it is probably more likely that the general view on women playing sports in that state is negative.
Oh, yeah.
So it's probably more likely that girls are being discouraged from playing sports in a state where they would enact a trans sports ban.
Yeah. I mean, trans women playing in women's sports has brought in a lot of attention to women's sports.
That's also true.
Because we're now talking about the different athletes. Like, I see videos for the WNBA all the time now. I see people discussing the players and their stats. It feels like people have gotten even more involved in it since it became a topic of conversation. I don't know why exactly that is, because it's not just like I'll see videos that have nothing to do with a trans woman in women's sports. And there's still, I just feel like there's more discussion about it. And they want to shut down all this research. They want us to not look into it because it challenges their entire system.
And if your goal is protect girls, like keep girls safe, don't let boys play because girls are more likely to get injured. The greatest threat to girls in sports is male coaches.
Oh, 1,000,000%. That's the thing.
It's not the other players on the team.
No, it's
the predatory
it's the
men.
grown men. It's the
Yes.
actual men. This is the thing too. This entire talking point for people that are against trans people doing anything, the people pushing this propaganda, it's because they want to distract you from the actual problem, which is grown cis men harming girls.
Yeah.
Because all of the people in power that are pushing this narrative, they're all predators.
Yeah. Well, we're realizing at this point with all the Epstein file stuff going on,
Yes.
to date this episode to a very specific time and place.
Yes, and before all of the crazy
And
Trump
trying to lower the age of marriage to
14? They're trying to embolden all the PDF files. I don't know if we can say that on YouTube, but I want to start watching what we say so we can get monetized. But
Yeah, I agree.
that all of the predators, they're distracting and going, this is the actual predator. Meanwhile, they're pushing things that embolden all of the people that are predators and would like to be open and out about it.
Yeah.
And they're also passing laws to make it okay. A 14-year-old is not an adult. An 18-year-old, in my opinion, is not an adult. I think we should raise the age. I think we should
agree.
raise it.
I literally threaded that I don't know what you call a post on Threads. I threaded that the other day. I was like, I think we should be raising the age of consent, not lowering it.
Exactly. But they're doing so you know what's funny? Speaking of the Epstein thing, I also wanted to bring this up. I remember some years ago, I was looking into the Epstein case. I was like watching videos about it. I was just looking at some details about it. And Epstein, in an interview, said he believes in the future that it will be common for much older men to be with much younger women. He said it like that. And I think this was their plan all along. I think everybody involved in that are also running the planet, and they are trying to make it so they can openly be predators again against young kids.
That's exactly what's happening.
It's insane.
So, female athletes in general receive 3 times the number of hate comments that male athletes receive on the internet.
That doesn't surprise me.
And trans athletes receive even more than that.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just a general attitude. It's just a general negative attitude towards women, and then a general negative attitude towards trans people.
Yeah.
But
no one ever does that to trans men. So this is the thing. Trans women experience.
Don't ever notice that.
Trans women.
Sorry, trans men. I have a list of trans men who are participating in sports because I wanted to cover our bases.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's definitely do that. But yeah, no, trans women experience not only misogyny, but also transphobia, which is a terrible combination. I would never want to go through that.
So, did you want to do that now? The trans dudes in sports?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay. So there's a ton of Reddit posts where people are asking like, how come there's no trans men who are like dominating in their field? Like, how come trans women keep doing so well in women's sports, but trans men aren't dominating trans men's sports? And I think we've already sort of answered that question because
Is it because they mostly live stealth? Because testosterone fit like your physical characteristics that make you pass, or
it has nothing to do with that. I think it's because again, we might have mentioned this in a previous episode, but because of the way our bodies, trans bodies, react to hormones, especially during puberty, where our bodies are trying to get the hormone that they're not getting. And so they take the hormone that they are getting and they overuse it to try to burn through it to get to the actual hormone that they're looking for. They're like, maybe if I use all of this, then I'll produce the other one. And instead, the body just keeps producing the wrong one, but in like higher amounts. So trans women are on average taller than cis men, and trans men are on average shorter than cis women.
because their body is craving a hormone, even though it's craving the opposite,
Right.
and it's going to
So
use what it can get.
A trans man's body that is being loaded up with estrogen but wants testosterone is just churning through the estrogen, and it keeps them a little bit smaller on average than a cis woman is. Because a cis woman is also probably already producing testosterone in the correct amount, whereas a trans man is not getting the testosterone his body is looking for. So I think, again, because none of these studies have accounted for height or body mass, trans men are more likely to do worse in athletics than cis women. Maybe a little bit better in certain categories, especially once they've transitioned. But if you account for just body size, like smaller people are going to do worse at things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Unless they're a
Right.
gymnast.
Right? But
Yeah.
there are also trans men who are doing very well. The most notable one is a man named Chris Mosier, who is a triathlete, and he repped the United States in an international competition in a triathlon. He nearly made the Olympic team, but he had to drop out because of an injury. But he would have gone to the Olympics, and who knows what would have happened. But he literally was
And there
just
have
like,
been no
I hurt
trans
myself,
women
I gotta
in
go.
the Olympics, correct?
There have been trans women in the Olympics.
They just have not won.
They've never won a medal.
Got you.
No trans person has ever won a medal at the Olympics. Ever.
Yeah.
So all this, moral upset, this outrage that's happening about trans people dominating their field is simply a lie.
Yeah.
Because at the actual professional levels, it's not happening.
Or even I wanted to bring up so Leah Thomas, the swimmer that everyone was freaking out about a few years ago. So that one event that she
That
won
was last year.
Was that last year? That feels like it was so long ago.
Well, it's been a long year.
Yeah, it has, bitch. But that one event she won that everyone was freaking out about, there were other events she was not winning.
Yeah.
There were plenty of other
She was losing
events.
a lot.
Yeah.
She was
And
not
that weird-
dominating in swimming.
That weird bitch that was freaking out about it. I guess she competed again without Leah Thomas in the event, and she still got 5th place. So
Yeah.
is Leah Thomas taking your spot, or are you just not that good of a swimmer? What is it? Because it sounds like you're just not that good and you needed somebody to complain about.
Yeah.
Now you're making money grifting. Good
Yeah.
for you, because swimming wasn't paying your bills
Yeah.
now, was it?
Well, this is honestly probably a good time to bring up that when you take into account every single variable as to what actually proves athletic performance, what single factor has the greatest impact on your athletic performance, the answer is money, access to money. So if you want to get rid of unfairness in sports, we have to get rid of the wage inequality.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
We have to get rid of pay inequality. We have to get rid of the absolute gap in wealth disparity between the richest 1% of people and everyone else. Because the people who are doing the best are the people who have the time to hire trainers, who have access to the best equipment, who have access to the best people to do the training, who have access to the right diet. These are all things that you get if you have a ton of money. And if you have a ton of money, you can take 6 months to do nothing but train. But if you're a person who has to hold down a job and train outside of that, you're getting half the training as the other athletes.
Or on top of that, so I wanted to use Venus and Serena Williams as an example. They actually get transvestigated a lot. I have seen conspiracy theories online. It always happens to black and brown women too because of racism and our racist beauty standards.
And all of this is so tied to racism.
Yeah.
So incredibly tied.
The people on the right get so irritated when the left is like, oh, like racists and like, you know, misogyny and transphobe, like, but all of these things tie together. Because these are the things that keep our system in place, all of them.
White supremacist capitalist patriarchy.
Yes.
That's what it is.
And classism is the thing we aren't talking about that we should be because we're distracted by these other things. And if we would let go of these things because they control us by controlling that narrative and making us all dislike each other and not want to have real conversations about it and not be kind to each other. Anyways, I digress.
You want to know who the best athlete in the world is? Train every single person the way you train the rich kids.
Yeah.
Because I promise you the best athlete in the world is probably not even competing.
Yeah. So the thing I wanted to say about, Venus and Serena Williams, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the times you see black athletes excel because their families invest in it. They're like, we are struggling. You enjoy this sport. We are going to make sure we go out of our way to save the money we need to get you lessons, to get you into this sport so you can be the best. It is their ticket out of the situation they're in. And Venus and Serena Williams, they grew up in, I believe, Compton, California. And their family did not have a lot of money. Their dad went out of his way to scrap what he could together to get them tennis lessons and have them train so they would be the best. And now they're the best. They're the best female tennis players in the entire world.
There's a great movie all about exactly that. Will Smith plays their dad.
Challengers? No, I'm kidding.
No. It's called King Richard, which is his name.
Oh, okay.
That was what they called him.
Is it good?
It is good.
I trust your judgment. I will watch it.
It's the movie that Will Smith won the Oscar for the year he slapped Chris Rock.
Oh, okay. We have to watch it, and then we have to watch that award ceremony after.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, no, they make it very clear that, like, he may not have been the best father, but he was a great man, and he did every single thing in his power to make sure they had a fair shot. Mm-hmm. And if it weren't for that, if they hadn't been able to get the training because their dad went so far out of his way, we wouldn't even have Venus and Serena. And they're the best in the world.
And they had to go through hurdles to get to where they are, and so did their family.
Yes. So I promise you, every single sporting event that we're looking at is the same thing. The person who is the best at it probably isn't even getting training because they're from a poor area or they just don't have the time to put into the training.
Yep.
Which is also why, Riley Gaines, was that the swimmer who lost to Leah?
That's her name, yeah.
Riley Gaines. She keeps losing because she's spending all of her time going on Republican talk shows and complaining, and she's not training.
And
she's not going to win because she's not training.
And she's also just not that great. Who cares? Like, not everything is supposed to be the thing you're the best at. But in sports, they teach you good sportsmanship, and if you lose, you're supposed to take it and just be like, "Hey, good game."
Yeah. But nope.
That was the
not
one.
When you can go make your bag complaining that you got beat by a trans girl. Except you didn't get beat by a trans girl. You tied with her for 5th place.
And I guarantee she would have found another thing to complain about if the trans topic wasn't such a hot topic.
Absolutely.
But it's typical white women being mediocre and then complaining about it and blaming someone else.
How can I turn my mediocrity into money? I know.
Literally.
Republicanism.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Other notable trans male athletes, there's a man named Keelan Godsey. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He participated in the hammer throw. He went to the Olympic trial where hundreds of people compete to try to get on the Olympic team. So he got 5th place. So he didn't make the Olympic team because I think it's only the top 2 or 3 people who go. But of the hundreds of people competing for a spot, he was 5th place. If the question is, why aren't trans men dominating in sports? I think the only answer is because they haven't been allowed to compete for long enough.
Yeah, and there's not even that many of
They
them
just
competing.
started like 10 years ago, really trying to compete. So give it more time.
I would love for them to get stats on how many athletes they are too, because I know there's not that many trans men competing. So for
Absolutely.
him, out of 100 to get 5th place is pretty impressive considering there's not that many of them, and they are
And it's
usually
a
smaller.
strength-based event.
Yeah, and they're usually smaller, and there's other things. So it's like, where's your argument?
Yeah. It
And yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
they can take examples of trans people excelling for sure, but there's also examples of them very much doing well.
Oh, yeah.
And specifically in trans men, their argument would be like, "Oh, well, they're not going to report on that though."
Yeah.
You know?
And I think the same thing is happening here that is happening in general, because I think one of the things I came across in the research that I was doing was the fact that there was a massive disparity in men's physical ability and women's physical ability, not because women were less physically capable, but because women were not allowed to do sports. Women were not allowed to participate. Women have been marginalized in society for so long, and they were seen as frail, and they were told, don't go to school, don't do this, literally just stay home, do the dishes, blah, blah, blah. So when women first started competing, when you look back at 1960, the disparity in time for a marathon, there was an hour and 10-minute difference between when the best man finished and when the best woman finished the marathon. Fast forward to 2010, the disparity is down to 5 minutes.
That's right. I remember you showed me that chart, which this is the other thing, not even just like physical advantage, but also personality wise. If you compared women from now to like the 50s, women were much more quiet, submissive, because they were socially conditioned that way.
They were forced to be. Yeah, they had no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
So the point is, we don't actually know if there is an actual physical advantage that men have at all, because we do not have equality.
Yeah, because thousands of years we have prevented women from being able to do anything.
Yeah. So if we actually had equality, would these scores be different? Would there be a disparity in scores? Or would the disparity be based more on, as we said earlier, size, height, just general strength, ability to go to the gym? How much time do you have? How much money do you have? Is there a physical difference between men and women at all? We do not have that answer. Maybe if you take the best man in the world and the best woman in the world and you raised them from birth and you trained them the same, maybe the man would win. Maybe. But we don't actually know that because we've never done that.
There's also just biological things based on family. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, for example, I'm much taller than the average cis woman. I'm a lot broader shoulders, wider hips, more like muscle than the average cis woman naturally. If you compared me to like another cis woman who's just like average, I'm going to be bigger and stronger than them. There's even my ex-girlfriend. I used to go to the fucking gym with her and I outlifted her by
Is this the trans one?
Yes.
It's very notable.
Okay, yeah, sorry,
should
yeah.
mention that
My
she's trans.
ex-girl, I be forgetting you guys are fucking trans, okay? And that's exactly what we're talking about right now. And I'm like, I'm fired today. I need to get it together. What's wrong with me? I can't do. Okay,
That's what happens when we start recording at 11:50 p.m.
I know, and it's been a long day. I woke up at
It has. You worked your ass off all day long.
yeah, but
Continue. Your trans girlfriend
my trans ex-girlfriend and I would go to the
was
gym.
terrible at sports.
She was. It's not even about her ability to play sports. She was just physically so much weaker than I was. I remember I was doing this squat with a kettlebell that was about 40 pounds, I believe. And I'm doing the squat with the 40 pounder. And she's like, oh, how do you do that exercise? And I was like, well, I'll show you. I like showed her how to do it. And she like went to grab the kettlebell. And I was like, this might be too heavy for you. Try it. And as soon as I handed it to her, her arms were like shaking. And I was like, let's switch you with a 20. But like,
Yeah.
and this is a trans girl that not like, and she didn't transition as a child. She was, I think, 24 when she transitioned. She's been on HRT about a decade now.
Yeah.
Like she went through an entire male puberty, lived as a boy until she was 24. And I'm still significantly stronger than she is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's in like, people don't think about that.
Yeah.
But
like,
there's going to be variation in this, but we're also not studying it because they don't want to find out that it's actually just perfectly acceptable for trans women to be in women's spaces.
yeah. And I think the same thing that is true of women, the fact that they have been suppressed for so long means that they do worse in sports, is true for trans people too. Because we have been so suppressed, because we have not been allowed to participate, because we are still to this day actively banned in so many places, we just don't have the actual data. We don't have any actual data on any of this stuff. All these studies that are being done are based on either fake science, fake data, bad science, bad data, or a sample size that is so small, like, I didn't even mention this part, 25% of those 12 studies that have been done were done on one person. One single person.
That's the thing too. I'll like try to argue against it and people will be like, well, give me your like, stats on it and whatever. And I'm like, I can pull up stats that can prove both my point and your point if you really want to. But there's not a lot of research on this.
Yeah.
But also from my personal experience, knowing a lot of trans people, think of, okay, I don't want to say her name. Her party where I met you, that girl.
Okay.
So like even her, where I'm the same size as her and also physically stronger than her. She's tiny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And she did MMA.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She could probably kick my ass because she has the skills, but
Right.
I could also like overpower her in a lot of ways.
You could outlift her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, I know so many examples of trans girls where I could, a cis girl, could overpower them.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the trans women where I like couldn't necessarily overpower them, we're about on the same level.
Yeah.
If they've been on our HRT for a few years, like we're on the same playing field.
Yeah. Comparing trans women as a group to cis women as a group is as useless as comparing the strongest woman in the world to the weakest woman in the world. It's like, okay, well, why are you even doing that? Like, what are you trying to learn?
But it sounds like the stats you've found, that's essentially what they're doing. They're taking average cis women that aren't training for professional sports and taking professional trans women that are athletes and comparing them and going, see, trans women are stronger. And it's like, why don't you compare these trans women to other female athletes?
Literally.
I almost said athletes.
Because the problem
we were talking about my ex-girlfriend.
The problem is, if they compared trans women to cis women, the cis women athletes would be better because, again, trans women have won 0 medals. So we actually have the evidence that you're looking for that cis women are better. If that's the evidence you're looking for,
yeah.
Look at the fact that
If
0 trans women have ever won.
If you want to compare the ones that are playing, compare them to every other cis female athlete.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do that. And no one looks into this stuff. No one even thinks about it. No one actually thinks about it. They're pushing the propaganda that trans men are women and trans women are men. And people just take that and go, yeah, you're right. And if somebody doesn't have like a facial feminization surgery because they're perceiving them partially as a man, they go, yeah, for sure. And they don't know what HRT actually does to your body. So they're not looking into it. They have no idea what the facts are or the science is behind it. And they just take it as fact and go, yeah, I agree with this. And it's made everyone so angry at you guys.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Now, because you mentioned that, I remembered something else. Chris Mosier, the guy... a lot of this came from Chris Mosier's website. Chris Mosier is the guy who is like dominating triathlons, the trans guy. So when he first tried to start competing in triathlons like professionally, there was a rule in place that trans people across the board were not allowed to participate unless they had had bottom surgery. So he was not allowed to participate unless he got bottom surgery, and he didn't want to have bottom surgery. So he challenged that ruling and he won. And so the rules changed for trans men only, where they said trans men don't have to have any surgeries. They can just compete with the men. There's no stipulations. We don't care, because they believe trans men are just going to lose because they believe trans men are women. But trans women have 4 hoops they have to jump through, one of which being maintain a T level that is less than half of the lowest T level that any cis woman has. And I didn't write down the rest of them, but like they're all based around T and like hormones, and you have to have been on.
I know you have to be on
HRT for
2 years.
For 2 years,
Yeah.
But all the research I'm doing says that 100% of the physical advantage of being a man is eradicated after the first 6 months of HRT.
Yeah.
But they make it last 2 years because they're just trying to buy as much time as they can to keep us out.
Yeah, because they're trying to suppress you guys as a community. They are trying to get rid of you guys. It's awful.
This has never been about sports. This has never been about sports.
No, because no one gave a fuck about women's sports a few years ago. No one even talked about it. Whenever I used to talk about how I would play sports, like men would laugh. Men would make a mockery of it because they're like, "Oh, well, what are you gonna do when you're done with school?" Like, I like what does that have to do? Yeah, like women's sports are a joke. Like, okay, women's sports are a joke, and now you give so much of a fuck about women's sports. Seriously, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
it's stupid. And this is the thing for cis people, specifically cis women that are against trans people having their rights. Fighting for trans people is how we also get our equal rights.
Yeah. It's almost like equality is equality.
Yeah. It's the same thing with gay rights, racial rights for black people, brown people, everyone else. When we are all seen as equal, then we can have conversations that make things better for everybody. But they keep us all fighting with each other. And as long as we're fighting with each other, we can't fight this class war.
Yeah.
We can't take this thing down. We can't do it.
Yeah. And trans people, we should do an episode on this too, that trans people are one of the single greatest threats to the idea of patriarchy. Because patriarchy is based on this gender binary that biology equals this, men equal this, women equal this. And if someone can just say, no, actually, that's not true, that calls into question every single assumption that patriarchy has been pushing, which is why as soon as trans people reached a certain threshold in public awareness, a certain percentage of people became trans, which was like 0.5% of people, they started trying to find a way to make people hate us. And they tried everything. They shotgun blasted propaganda about trans people across social media starting in 2015. Again, they put hundreds of millions of dollars into this, and their goal was find the thing that makes people angry. They tried bathroom bans. Pretty much across the board, everyone was like, that's stupid. We don't care about that.
Yeah.
Now you have a very small group of people who really care about bathrooms, but most people don't actually give a fuck.
No, and this is the thing. If they wanted to solve their problem with the bathroom thing, you would advocate for gender neutral bathrooms, which I would use gender neutral bathrooms because I blow up bathrooms all the time. I have irritable bowels. That's kind of hard to say. Irritable bowels.
It is.
Irritable bowels.
Yeah.
Say that 5 times fast.
Irritable bowel.
You know?
Fucking irritable bowel syndrome.
Fucking shit.
Got your fucking irritable bowels.
I gotta go into the Walmart and fucking shit. I can't do that accent as good as you.
Scottish. When you say the word irritated, it makes me want to fucking be Scottish.
My name is Shrek. What are you doing in my swamp? I can do it if I imitate Shrek.
You can't compete.
Donkey.
Donkey, you think you can compete in ogre sports? You're not a biological ogre. You see how dumb that sounds?
Is Fiona a trans ogre then?
I mean, low key, yeah.
She's trans ogre.
She's a troger.
Oh, let's not give the transracial people
we
fuel
don't-
for their
no,
argument.
No, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
Because that's not a thing. Race isn't a real
But
thing.
but like the president of the American Principles Project literally said in a memo, we pivoted to trans women in sports as the issue to make people hate trans people because the bathroom issue wasn't working. So they switched all their propaganda to that. And now, anytime anyone has anything to say about trans people, even the supportive people, even the liberals, even the wokest leftist I know, they'll be like, I support trans people. I support their right to exist. I just don't support their right to play sports.
That used to be me 5 years ago. I've been talking about this a lot on my TikTok. And then I started looking into it and I'm like, oh, this actually isn't that big of a deal.
It's not a deal at all. It's a made up deal.
It is a made up deal.
It was made up by Republicans. It was made up by the American Principles Foundation, which is
Yes.
a Republican fucking media spin company whose job is to make people hate each other.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, it's not an issue at all.
Yep.
But you've been brainwashed. You.
And this is the thing. This isn't about keeping women safe because all of these conversations have made it more unsafe for cis women. I saw a story today. There was this like very butch cis woman that went into a bathroom. I think it was at a Walmart or a Wingstop or something. And one of the employees followed her in there and was like, you can't be in here. Like, there's no
saw
men in the
that,
bathroom. And this girl's underage, right? And she flashed her tits at the employee and was like, I'm a girl, leave me alone. And the funny thing is if she was trans, she would have boobs because estrogen makes you grow tits. So what
I
are
could
we
flash
doing?
my tits in
And
the
that
bathroom.
was enough to shut that person up because they didn't know what they were talking about. They just said, you look like a guy, so I'm going to go harass you. And the funny thing is that woman could have been trans and that would have been enough. Just flashing your tits.
Yeah.
Because some of them don't know. I've had friends that actually don't have any issue with trans people and believe that you guys have to get a surgery to get tits. And I'm like, you understand estrogen is what makes you grow boobs. Even in cis women, we grow boobs
Yeah.
at puberty because your body starts producing a lot of estrogen.
I've had 0 surgeries on these girls.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I've met trans girls with huge boobs, like bigger than my boobs. My boobs aren't that big, but like way bigger than my boobs. Like estrogen, HRT in general, it does a lot to your body.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally
And no
just
one
taking
know-
estrogen, you will probably, generally speaking, end up with breasts the size of the women in your immediate family. So like I'm still waiting. You know, I'm about halfway there.
This is a little off topic. I just have to. But E-Streetcar, that TikToker that I'm obsessed
I
with.
do, yeah, of course I do.
She's so hot. If
You
you're
say
watching
her
this
name
E-Streetcar,
500 times a day.
if you're watching this, hi. But she made a TikTok and she's like, you know what I think about a lot? There's a bunch of cis men just walking around and there's just like a genetic code within your body that determines how large your boobs would be. And cis men will never know. Would you be an A cup? Would you be a D cup? And you'll never know. And I think that's sad. And I feel that. You know?
I mean, yeah, that is true. We contain all the genetic information, and I mean, we're not even going to talk about the intersections between and all the sheer amount of biology that exists outside of the XXXY binary. There are so many other variations. There are women who have XX who just happen to naturally produce the same amount of testosterone as a cis male. There are people with XXY. There are people with XYY. And there are people of every single one of those things who have either a penis or a vagina.
Yeah.
There's simply no hard and fast this or that rule. Nature does not do binaries. Nature only does spectrums. And that is what they don't want us to know. There is not men and women. There is men and women and about a million things in between.
Yeah, that's the other thing. No one wants to talk about intersex people. They have everyone so brainwashed that if you bring it up, they're like, what does that have to do with it? But if you think about it, gender is a spectrum because there are so many people born with both. And their body kind of develops as both.
Yeah.
And some of them do identify on the binary extremes. It's the same idea as sexuality. It's not the exact same thing, but it's similar in the sense that it's a spectrum. And that happening proves that this is a thing where some people have the opposite, where they're on the other end of the binary and they need to switch over.
Yes.
Like intersex people, that's why it's normalized for intersex kids when they are newborn babies to get surgeries that they cannot consent. They can't even talk or comprehend what's happening.
Right.
People give them a surgery that they don't need, especially not at that age, against their will, when really they should be waiting until around puberty to decide what they identify with more.
And it's just projection because, like, that's the argument they use against trans people is the children shouldn't be having surgeries. Well, then stop doing them on babies.
Yeah. They literally, cis AMAB people, cis boys, we circumcise them.
Yeah.
And that's specific to our country, which is very Christian.
It's not just our country because it's originally it's a Jewish tradition.
Yeah, it's very common here, though.
It is very common here.
Like if you go to like a lot of parts of Europe, that's not a thing. It just depends on where you go. But like I'm specifically talking about in the US because we are kind of talking about, I mean, I guess the trans thing's an issue in a lot of other places too. But either way,
It's everywhere right now.
the idea that you're taking a newborn baby boy and going, we're going to cut off part of its dick. Why? Oh, just because that's what everyone else does. That's literally, if you think about it, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You lose nerve endings. If the surgery goes wrong, it can also like cause you to lose even more sensitivity or have problems. Why? Leave it there. It's there for a reason. It doesn't cause no harm.
Yeah. It's natural.
Yeah. And I forget where I heard this, but I guess that originated from religion because it was supposed to prevent boys from masturbating, of which, like, that doesn't fucking stop anybody. But, like, and that's not even the reason people do it. I know people that have atheist parents that got them circumcised.
At this point, it's literally just tradition.
Yeah.
It's just like when a baby is born with a penis, the doctor's like, you want us to do it?
If you want to cut off part of your dick when you're an adult, or like even like, hey, maybe you turn 16 and you're like, hey, I kind of don't like that. Whatever.
They made my brother have that surgery when he was 8.
That's insane because then they're really conscious.
They were
and
like,
that's,
well, yeah. They were like, well, you're going to be Catholic because you were adopted by us, so you have to have this surgery. So you have to go do it. And they forced him to go get circumcised.
I would have refused
at 8 years old.
I would have tried to sue at 8 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah, but he didn't have a say. My parents just
That
forced
is
him to do it.
fucked. And it's insane
know.
that people can just force their kids to do that.
I know.
A cosmetic surgery you don't need.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk about cis people getting
I never asked him about that.
And
I'd
don't
be
they not put
curious.
you under for that?
I don't know.
I've heard. I don't know. I've heard they don't.
Maybe if they're 8 years old, they would. I don't know.
I would
don't
hope
know.
they.
I have no. I
They
didn't
shouldn't
ask.
even be doing it to someone who's a baby.
They
8 years
shouldn't
old.
be
They don't-
doing it at all. But stop projecting your bullshit onto us.
Yeah.
Stop pretending that we're the trans people are the crazy ones doing surgeries on babies when
They're
that's
not.
not who's
This
doing
is the
it.
other thing. I would say even more than 9 times out of 10, like trans kids are not getting surgeries. That's not happening.
It's
and
not
most
legal.
of the time,
It's not legal. And I don't think it should be.
it's not. Most of the time,
All you need is the HRT.
exactly.
And literally, all you actually need is the blockers, which cis kids are taking anyway.
Yeah.
Especially if they have precocious puberty or something like that. That's why the drugs were invented.
Yeah.
And they do no harm. People love to talk about bone density, but as soon as you go off of the blockers, it just your body just recovers. And you go right back to normal.
Yeah.
They're fully reversible.
And
everyone loves to say they're not reversible. They're fully reversible.
They are. And the only thing that isn't reversible is it sometimes like affects how tall you'll be, but like who fucking cares? Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit?
I shrank
you might be
an
2
inch or 2 after I started
you
taking
might be
estrogen
2 inches.
anyway.
You might be 2 inches shorter than you would have been if you decide to go off puberty blockers and just resume your like assigned puberty at birth. I don't even know how you word that, but like, who fucking cares? Who cares? This is saving trans kids' lives.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, it doesn't save life. Yes, the fuck it does.
Yeah, it literally does.
There is a reduce in suicidal idealization amongst kids that receive their gender affirming care.
Yeah.
And this is the thing.
I didn't
Puberty
know that
blockers-
wasn't normal. Like, I had unaliving ideation every day of my life.
It's just,
So this is some other stuff that I found. There was specifically what month you were born in has more of an impact on how good you are at sports for your grade than anything else. It is the single biggest factor in, because if you're born in September and another kid's born in August, the kid in September essentially is a year older than you. And so you're 11 and the other kid's 10, and you're like, haha, I'm better at sports than you. I know that because I was a May baby, and
a maybe.
a baby. I was a maybe. So I was one of the youngest in my grade. I was consistently the worst at every sport for my age. And I internalized that I am terrible at all sports because for my age group, I was always going to be. And especially if I was comparing myself to the other boys, because as I already mentioned, trans women do worse than cis men
Yeah,
across the board.
because you're in the I don't like to say wrong body anymore because it's not necessarily that, but your body developed in a way that it was a misfiring when you were in the womb. It was, you were supposed to receive certain hormones once you were out of the womb that you did not receive because you received them in the womb.
Yeah.
So it fucks you up. So you're developing a certain way physically, but other ways that's not the case.
Yeah.
So you're not you
I
even
had a female brain the whole time.
because you were telling me pre-transition, you mostly were friends with girls. You didn't really identify with boys. You weren't able
I
to
hated them.
socialize with them.
All my
It's-
best friends were girls.
Yeah.
Throughout all of school.
Yeah.
I had like a couple of guys who I was like, you know what, this one's all right. But generally speaking, I just wanted to be around the girls.
Which if we started teaching young boys emotional intelligence, and
I mean, that's a whole other
I don't even think
conversation.
that would be as much of a thing. But also, if people learned emotional intelligence and getting in touch with themselves internally, they would be able to find out these things about them even sooner. We'd have better tools to help people, because medicine has come such a long way, even for trans people.
Yeah.
I found out last year, I guess, because it's estradiol now. I forget what the one that came from horses was back in like the 70s. They used to make synthetic estrogen from like female horses.
That's crazy.
And it would cause health problems
I
sometimes.
would bet.
Yeah, like it worked, but overall, like some people would have like bad reactions to it. They'd have to go off of their hormones.
That's some Joe Rogan COVID shit. Jeez.
I know, right? Well, what was the shit? The horse
You're injecting
dewormer?
yourself with horse hormones.
Yeah.
You're turning the freaking frogs gay.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the freaking frogs gay.
I don't like them turning all my kids into horses. We got trans horses out here. It's insane.
At the Mojo Dojo Casa House, horse.
Once I figured out patriarchy wasn't about horses, I lost interest.
And then they turned the trans kids into horses.
And then I decided school shootings were a hoax. Sorry, I'm mixing up all my dumb Republican pundits.
We gotta stop giving men microphones, but especially the schizophrenic ones like Alex Jones. We gotta.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Man,
I
that guy needs a psychiatrist.
Yeah. I think the only research I have left that I feel like really we should talk about, and I honestly think we should do a whole episode on it, is just the fact that the reason sports were segregated in the first place was misogyny, was patriarchy, was racism. It all started in the Victorian era. It started in the 1700s, the 1800s, when there was suddenly this idea that women were dainty and frail and incapable of physical activity, and they should just probably stay in the house and do chores all day because it's better for them.
I mean, I would argue that it started before that because women really couldn't do shit in general for thousands of years because of the system we had in place.
Yes, it started before that.
I feel like that was when women started pushing to like, hey, I want to do this thing. And they were like, no.
But that you're also specifically referring to white history because
Oh, you're including indigenous. I thought you were talking about in just the Western world as a whole. Yeah.
even by the 1700s, the Western world was pretty small. Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't
that is true.
really much of a thing. Like, there was still Native Americans across North America. Like colonization hadn't fully taken hold yet. So
Until the U.S. became a superpower.
and so the
yeah.
vast until 1776, America didn't exist.
Yeah.
It was just colonies for a long time. and it was just on the East Coast, and the rest of the country, no white people went over there.
Yeah.
None of them. It was just Native Americans. It was Mexicans. It was anybody who was already there. And those cultures, women and men just played sports together.
Yeah, that makes
Like
sense.
if you are only looking at like Britain and America, yes, it started earlier. But if you look at every other country, not the case. And the policies started taking place in the other countries after colonization. Most of the policies didn't start until the 1900s. Most places still had unsegregated sports of all types of sports until the 1900s.
Yeah.
And like, even in the 1900s, the Soviet Union was like, well, we're still going to train female athletes. And they sent a bunch of women to the Olympics and they dominated. They crushed the men. And as soon as that happened, well,
They were like, we're going to dead this.
they were like, we got to get rid of this.
Yeah.
Look at the communists over there. We don't know what they're doing. They must be doing science experiments and
Yeah.
injecting them with superpower hormones or whatever because it's the only possible way. The first time women competed in the Olympics after all the bans and shit happened, because like in the old days in like ancient Greece, they used to do Olympics totally unsegregated. Everyone was allowed to compete, whatever. If you're good at sports, come play. The first time women, after the bans started happening, were allowed to participate, I'm going to look at the year here. It was 1926. Women had been fighting hard to be allowed to have at least one event in the Olympics. So they added a running event. But because of misogyny, they would not let the women run more than 800 meters. Even though they were like, we've been training for longer than that, we can do more than that. They were like, no, that would be terrible. And in fact, I believe the event was less than that. Maybe I didn't write it down, but I believe it was a 300-meter dash. The spectators at the event were so horrified at the image of these sweaty, out-of-breath women that there was a moral outrage globally. There were newspaper articles. One of them was literally titled 11 Wretched Women. 11 wretched women because they were sweaty after they ran really fast.
Ratchet ass bitches. I love it.
And it's like, it's unbelievable. People were so horrible. They were like, oh my God, women are sweaty. They worked out. This is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen.
We're used to women being presented for the male gaze, always dainty. A lot
And
of
so
our
after
beauty
that event,
standards.
they banned women from competing again until 1960.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
34 more years.
Yeah. So this is the other thing. My mom went to the World Series in 1982 for softball. That was the first softball World Series they had for women. That was the first time they'd ever had it. 1982. This is a decade before I'm born. Like, we don't even have 100% equal rights, but like, we haven't had these rights even that long. People don't think about it. And a lot of people born around when I was born, they don't understand what we came from and how recent it was.
Yeah. In the 1930s, there were, of all the universities in America, only 22% of them had women's sports programs. And that's because before that, women weren't even allowed to go to school. So why would they have a women's sports program? It was only after women started attending university, and the women who were accepted were the smartest students, not the best athletes. So the people who were there who maybe wanted, they're like, we should play some sports. We're not going to be the best ones because women weren't even allowed to go to school and be educated.
Yeah. You know what? This is the thing too. When you think about it, because you're correct, back in the day, people used to believe that women weren't as intelligent as men, but it's because we weren't using our brains.
Yeah.
We weren't getting educated. We weren't doing things. We were doing the same shit every single day, not going out and seeing the world. We were taking care of a bunch of kids, staying at home, and that was it.
Yeah.
You had no other option. And once we were able to start going to school, we actually excel in school We are so much better than men
Today-
at school. We are doing much better because we have
Today-
equal, and they want that gone.
The vast majority of college graduates are women.
Yeah.
Men aren't even going anymore.
No.
And we're realizing what happens when there's actual equality. Women work harder and men fuck off.
Yeah, because life is so much easier for men on almost every
Yeah.
level, so
And
they
they're
don't
not
have to work as
realizing
hard.
how much they're shooting themselves in the foot. And now we've got this loneliness epidemic, which is really just an unfuckable epidemic
Yeah.
that they're causing themselves by intentionally remaining mediocre.
Yeah, no, when you prevent certain demographics of people from doing things, yeah, they're not going to be as good at it because you're not allowing them access to get good at it. It's the same thing with race. Like there used to be propaganda pushed everywhere that like black and brown people were less intelligent. It's like, well, you guys aren't even teaching them how to fucking read. What do you mean?
Yeah.
They're not naturally like not as intelligent. You guys aren't giving them out. You're putting them out in a field and working them to death.
Yeah.
And you're not giving them access to everything that you have so easily.
Yeah. It's very easy to call someone stupid when you've never given them an opportunity to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very easy to demonize women as lazy and weaker when you've never let them exercise. It's very easy to control people's ideas about people when you're also controlling what those people are allowed to do.
Yeah, equal rights is important. Like, and they want to like, oh, equal rights is a waste of time because, like, you know, these people are inferior. They're not. You aren't allowing them access, and you're pushing so hard against them having access to these things because you are afraid that you won't have your power anymore and you will not rule over everybody else. Which, why do we have people that are in charge of everyone else? I think everyone should be able to take leadership roles. And maybe some people don't enjoy it as much, so they'll find their other avenues. But the idea that because you're a white, straight guy, cis, whatever, it's like, and you just get the power because everyone sees you a certain way, it's not right.
Yeah.
And it also isn't, we're not having the best people in power because we don't know who else could be really amazing at this if they were given the opportunity. And maybe these straight white guys would have been happier in a different role.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know because they're in a they've been conditioned to think that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
They might be happier in other roles. We don't know. We don't know because we haven't given people the opportunity to find themselves and find what they're best at and what they enjoy.
Right now, the only people who are allowed to run for office and rule and be in all these positions of power are people who already have a ton of money.
Exactly.
Those are the only ones.
And they don't have to work as
and
hard.
where did they get that money? Was it maybe a history of their parents having money and their parents having money and their parents having money
and you know
before
what?
that?
It's not even just money. It's also connections.
It's yes.
It's all about who you know. It's
Yeah.
money. Money comes with that, but it's also connections and who you know.
But
and they're all like-minded.
we're starting to see the pushback in these grassroots people who are coming up, the AOCs, the
Mm-hmm.
Mom Donnies of the world, the people who are like, I don't come from
And they're
wealth.
trying to dead that
Oh,
shit.
they're trying to
They're
kill
trying
it
to-
so hard.
No.
Oh, both sides,
Mm-hmm.
Republicans and Democrats, because those are the pillars of wealth. Those are the pillars of money. But we are way off topic, and we
Okay, sorry.
can rant forever and
Okay,
ever and
well,
ever.
we'll-
This is our trans
yeah.
sports episode. We'll talk about
To
all
be
this
fair,
stuff
though-
again
Yeah.
in future episodes. We're going to come back. Don't worry.
To be fair, this all is a part
Of
it.
course, yes. It
'Cause
all ties together.
The trans sports topic is a part of the
narrative-
bigger picture.
Yeah, it's a narrative being pushed by rich, white, cis men who just don't want anyone else to encroach on their territory.
1,000,000%.
The territory that they've had for hundreds of years.
And this is
And
played
you're
out.
falling for it.
Yeah, and this is played out with people of color. This is played out with gay people, women, to every other group you could think of. This has been a thing that's played out, and those demographics of people pushed for their rights. Other people got on board, and there's still societal things, and not every place in the world is on board. But you know, things get better when you gain those rights, and you as a group get better and gain access to more spaces. Look at like how many female leaders we have in the world right now, and they're killing it. Like I know Mexico has a female president right now. There's like you know what I mean?
I do.
It is if everything feels so bleak, especially if you're in the United States right now, I do believe this is going to be like a 2 steps back, 10 steps forward sort of a thing, but it's going to be a rocky road for a little bit. It is very scary right now what they're trying to do to people. I'm scared for myself and also people I care very much about that are in a much worse position than I am You know,
Yeah.
it's scary.
Yeah. Well, I've officially gotten through all my research.
All right. Yeah. This was fun.
This was good. This is a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, this
I
was-
learned a lot doing this research, and hopefully you learned a lot listening to me ramble about it.
I did. No, when you were telling me this morning, I'm like, I can't wait for this. Don't tell me now. I just want to like, it's insane. But we will link the all of the studies that we referenced in this episode in the captions or the under the video.
I mean, I'm not going to link all of the studies, but I'll link like the most interesting one, at least.
Yeah.
I'll link a couple of them.
Yeah.
But also, like, it's not hard to find these things.
Yeah. We'll put in the little description where you can find everything.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not going to link to the studies themselves, like, because those are easy to find and also they're useless. Like, most of the stuff that I ended up using wasn't from the studies themselves because the studies are so biased.
Yeah.
Other than the studies that were proving that, like, actually trans women are worse at sports than cis girls.
Yeah.
Who knew?
The
You know,
ones where
like-
they leave out key information and it's against trans, like, just who
Yeah.
fucking cares?
Yeah. Right down there. Check it out. Any final takeaways? Anything we want to wrap up with?
Fuck the system. Let's take it down. I want to have I want it to be like that episode of Rick and Morty with the Gazorpazorps where the women live on their planet and everything's all beautiful and nice and aesthetic and everything runs properly. They're a little catty with each other occasionally, but that's about it. And
But
then all of the
that's-
men
but
are
the
out in
only
space
reason-
killing each other, and that's fine.
And the only reason the women are catty with each other is because men wrote the episode.
Literally, right?
Like, it wouldn't actually be that way.
Yeah, maybe if it was a bunch of like teenage girls, but like they're grown
Right.
women.
Yeah.
You know?
They'd be like, everything's great.
And if anything, when they're criticizing each other's outfit, it's like, hey, I'm a real bitch and your outfit isn't it. And they'd be like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Radical
Yeah.
honesty. Anyway, I hope you learned something here today. Something about why everything you've been hearing is a lie.
Yeah. Now you have some sources that you can refer back to
Yeah.
when you're arguing for this. And
And I am so happy that I just anytime anyone asks me about trans sports issues, I can just link this episode because I don't want to fucking ever talk about this again.
no, I was going to make a whole video going over this on my TikTok. I'm just going to make a TikTok saying to go watch this video.
Yeah. 'Cause
That's it.
I think this is going to be fucking lit.
Yeah.
We're going to put it out in a couple of days.
Yep. Well, this was Lady in the Trans podcast. I'm Lady.
And I've been trans.
You've been trans. Thank you. Bye.
Lady and the Trans podcast. Where we believe in science. We don't believe in God. Only science.